tuning in. Before we get started, be sure to like the video and subscribe. It would mean a ton to me. This is a fun topic. I want to answer a question for you guys that's asked by way too many people way too often, and that is, should you take gear? I'm going to answer it because I'm not scared to. I think a lot of people answer it that should not be answering this question. And I'm going to tell you guys the truth. So, first and foremost, if you're even asking the question, should you take gear? You're asking yourself this. The answer to the question is no, you should not. If you're having to even ask the question, that means you're not 110% in. And why would you do anything if you're not 110%? You know what I mean? Especially something like taking gear. So, I hate to spoil it for you, but if you're asking the question, the answer is no. So, we're going to go over some pros and cons first. I'm going to try my best to stay out of the weeds with this one as far as getting too sciencey on this one. First pro, builds muscle. Obviously, it builds muscle. That's why anyone wants to take it. Faster metabolism. That's part of building muscle. Helps with depression. So this is one that I alluded to in a couple videos ago about the Liver King with depression. There's tons of studies, tons of even meta-analysis done that shows um, taking testosterone will help with depression, and that is for females and males. Um, this is something that will probably come to the forefront more over the years as a big reason why TRT is prescribed to people more so than anything. So just keep in mind that it does help with depression. I don't think that's something you should put too much merit on. And there's other paths you can take for that, but nevertheless, improves cognition. Again, tons of studies, tons of meta-analysis showing this. More energy, that kind of goes along with cognition. This is going to be the first thing that anyone notices is the energy, especially if you're an older male that already has lower testosterone. If your testosterone's low, you're probably going to feel lethargic. You're not going to feel like doing anything. All the pros are going to fix that for you, but the energy is the first thing within 24 hours you're going to notice. Improves confidence. Obviously, if you build muscle, have more energy, are not depressed, you're going to have better confidence. So that's another thing you're going to notice pretty quick. Athletic performance. Why do you think all these professional athletes who have millions of dollars on the line take any kind of PED? It's going to help any kind of athletic performance. Libido, you're going to feel overwhelmed with sexuality if you take any kind of PED. Um, Overall well-being, again, that goes with confidence and extends. Next is extends lifespan. So extending lifespan, this is one that most people are not familiar with. And this kind of goes against everything you hear about gear, steroids, performance enhancing drugs. There's a couple studies on linked here. There's more you can see online for sure. Most of them are in vitro studies, which in vitro is just test tube or petri dish studies, right? So one thing they did in these studies, or they saw that adding anabolic compounds actually increased the length of telomeres. And if you know anything about telomeres or biohacking, you know that the longer that your telomeres are, the longer you're going to live. This is sort of what indicates how fast someone is aging, right? So um, that's one big one. Let's move on to some cons. All right, cons. So the first big one, it's illegal without a doctor. So that's pretty, it should be pretty obvious to everyone. If apparently some people don't know this, um, they are Schedule 3 drugs. Google Schedule 3. You'll figure it out real quick how serious you should be taking these. Next, skews blood work. So your blood work it's going to get messed up if you take these, especially if you take it outside of a TRT dose. Um, your blood work, when you look at it, it has to skew it. If you're taking a performance enhancing drug and it's real and it's not fake, your cholesterol is the first thing that's going to get skewed, your entire lipid panel. It has to in order for these to work. Otherwise, you're not taking something real. So lipids, RBC count, red blood cell count. Again, this is one of the main reasons these were even invented, was to help with red blood cell count. So um, that that is something that it's going to be different for each person that takes it, from what I've seen. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, so HPTA shutdown. This one is something that's interesting. I think for men, you should probably look this up so you can understand it a little better. But your hypothalamus essentially produces GnRH, which then tells your pituitary to produce LH and FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. This goes to your testicles and tells your testicles to make testosterone. So if you're taking testosterone, there's no need for your body to produce it. So there's no need for it to need your balls. So that's why your testicles shrink. Okay, so when your HPTA, which means your hypothalamus pituitary testicular axis, when this shuts down, your balls shrink. You're still getting your testosterone, but that's just something you have to deal with. You have to deal with. It's going to happen. Period. And obviously, if your balls shrink, that means they're not being used, and then you're not producing sperm, so your sperm count goes down. This does not mean that you are completely infertile. It just means you're going from 100% to 5%, essentially, right? Um, I just picked that off the wall number, but that's something you have to keep in mind. I'll probably make another video about that later on, so maybe even some personal experience with that, because if your sperm count goes low, don't freak out and think it's never going to come back. You can absolutely make it come back. Obviously, the older you get, the harder it's going to be, and the more drugs you take, the harder it's going to be. But you can definitely bring it back. Another big con, the psychological aspect of this. Anytime you take PEDs, it's going to mess with you psychologically, thinking, depending on the person. Some people get this weird feeling like they think they're better than everyone else. They feel like they can do anything they want in the gym. They want to tell everyone about it. So if you psychologically can't handle the fact that you're taking a drug and you need to just keep it to yourself, don't take it. Relationships, again, your significant others, best rule of thumb is to be honest. I mean, if you can't be honest with the people in your life about something like this and at least explain to them the pros and cons that we're going over, then there's no need for you to take it. Another one, this one happens all the time. Someone idolizes you and then they copy you. So some dude in the gym is taking PEDs, he gets huge. There's tons of people that look up to you. They're going to want to figure out how you got so big. And they're going to want to take PEDs too, whether they should or not. And they're probably forgetting all the pros and cons and just going straight into it. Another one is you're no longer natural. That's obvious. That one sucks. But yeah, you just got to deal with it. Acne and hair loss. So this is one that doesn't happen to everyone. And you're essentially just going to have to try this stuff and find out if it's going to affect you. If you're prone to acne already, you're probably going to get acne. When you went through puberty, if you were someone that struggled with acne, when you take these drugs, you're going to get acne. And you might be able to fix it, you might not be able to. Hair loss. If you're prone to male pattern baldness and you take these, it's just going to speed it up. There's plenty of videos talking about this on YouTube. I'll probably make one on this because it's pretty straightforward. But if that's something that matters to you, just keep in mind it's going to happen. And the worst con of all is the stigma of using PEDs and steroids. So the stigma is something you have to deal with, and it's essentially everyone talking shit about you constantly. And that is the worst of it. Are people actually doing that? Probably not. But that's going to be in the back of your mind when you first start this stuff. Are your friends talking crap about you? Who cares? I mean, everyone knows the stigma that goes along with it, and everyone's going to think that any muscle that you gain or athletic performance is completely indicative of these steroids and not your hard work. So if you want people to think that you achieve something from drugs and not hard work, then you probably shouldn't take. You should take this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Price. Not just the fact that you have to pay for this stuff straight up off of the black market from God knows who. You need to have the money to pay for blood work. You need to have the money to pay for things once you come off of these drugs. You need to have the money to pay for if you want to fix your sperm count. You need to have the money to pay for what happens not just to get the blood work, but what if your blood work is screwed up? What are you going to take to fix it? You need to have money for a doctor. You need to have money for a cardiologist. You need to have money for more blood work. Like, it really adds up. And, like, that might even be worst case scenario, but, like, at the very least, you still need to see a cardiologist. You still need to get blood work. What else? You still need to be able to manage blood pressure. So if you don't have the money for it and you just want to take it to see what happens, that's an absolutely idiotic way of thinking of this. And I think this might be the one that ticks me off the most because it happens the most, if you can't afford the blood work or the doctor, and like the worst case scenario of what could happen, why would you even take it? Like, this is not something that you should take if you're poor. Like, I hate to say it like that, but like, if you can't afford it, don't even, just stop thinking about it. And the last one is it's not magic. And I know you hear people say that all the time. It's not. Like, you would be baffled at the amount of people in your local gym that are taking PEDs and look like they've never worked out a day in their life. Um, I think a lot of people would be very surprised at the amount of people that actually take steroids and look terrible. And that's because they look terrible before they took steroids. If you train like crap and then you take these, you'll put on some muscle, but you're not going to look the way you think you're going to look. They're not magic. They're not going to fix anything like that. So that's that's the pros and cons you need to take into account. Um, you don't need to worry what other people think, no matter which way you go on this. I really think if you're still asking the question, should you take gear, or you've listened to all these pros and cons and you fully understand all of them and you're still asking the question, then you shouldn't do it. Like, straight up. Like, if you went through all these pros and cons and you're like, man, I understand all this stuff. I have the money. I don't care about the acne. I don't care about my balls getting shut down or bad blood work or even the worst case scenario, and you still want to do it, sure.